Hello everyone, welcome back to Vignan Civil Services Academy's talk show. I'm Vigins.
And I'm Jacinth, and we will be talking about the Agnipath scheme, its agenda, and also its advantages and disadvantages.
I'll be explaining about why this scheme has been introduced, what is the rationale behind it, and also we'll be doing some cross-comparational analysis between armed forces of our country and other countries. Jacinth, in the recent past, we are seeing some violent protests across the country. Young aspirants for army are going on rampage and they are holding widespread protests and they are also burning the trains. So can you explain why these kind of protests are taking place?
So, the central ministry has introduced an Agnipath scheme which has caused an uproar in our country. Many youngsters have resorted to violent measures like burning of trains and other public protests that are defacing our public property. Yes, making a protest is a good thing, but doing so in a peaceful manner is what is important. Going and defacing public property does not find a solution.
Yes.
It only makes it worse.
Yes. It is very disheartening to see these kind of violent protests, especially destroying the public property.
Yes.
These youngsters are protesting because the government has introduced Agniveer scheme and they have cancelled the previous recruitment process.
Yeah.
So they are expressing their displeasure
Hmm.
for cancelling this examination process. So can you explain or talk about this Agnipath scheme?
So the Agnipath scheme was introduced by the Defense Minister of Armed Forces. So the idea behind this was to recruit youngsters into the Indian Army. So the youngsters who are recruited under the Agnipath scheme are called as Agniveers. So an approximate number of 46,000 Agniveers were to be recruited this year. So the age range is between 17 and a half to 21 years. So they'll be serving 4 years in the army with training of 6 months. So the salary is quite attractive and it is almost 4.76 lakhs in the first year itself, which will increase up to 6.92 lakhs in the fourth year. They won't have a retirement salary, but they'll be having a scheme called as a Seva Nidhi package where almost 11 lakhs they'll be having after their release from the Agnipath scheme. So they'll also have insurance of up to 48 lakhs and they'll also be having benefits of Agniveer skill certificate so that they can apply to jobs after the Agnipath scheme.
So Agniveer, it's sounding
Yeah.
something very bold and adventurous.
Yes.
But still, why youngsters are protesting against this scheme? Are there any disadvantages or what are the specific reasons?
So there are 3 reasons. So the first thing is that the army forces have already conducted the exam where the students have already written the exam, but they have cancelled this because of the Agnipath scheme. The second reason is that they don't have a promised pension. Yes, they do have the Seva Nidhi package, which is almost 11.71 lakhs, but this is not sufficient according to the youngsters' views. And the third reason is that the tenure of the Agnipath scheme is very short. It's just 4 years. This appears that the military has been contractualized. So this is what caused the uproar in the youngsters.
So the main argument is that the existing army personnel are getting pension, but why Agniveers won't get pension?
Yes.
And they're also saying that the politicians, even if they serve for one term, MP or MLA, they are getting lifelong pension.
Yeah.
But why not Agniveers?
Yeah. Yes, Wiggins. With this Agnipath scheme, there are also advantages. So they include, so the Agniveers can enroll into the regular cadre after their tenure of 4 years. So the top 25% of the Agniveers will join the regular cadre. With this condition, they should also meet the medical eligibility of the armed forces.
So that means the quality of the armed forces will not be sacrificed.
Yeah, it will not.
They
be
have to meet the
sacrificed.
medical conditions.
Yes.
Okay.
It also provides the youth of our country to serve the armed forces in a very unique manner. This also has a benefit to the armed services. It also makes the armed services look very youthful and very dynamic. Along with this, the youth, they have such an attractive package. This will surely help them in their future. And one of the major perks is that they get to train at one of the best institutions of our country. So with these kind of qualifications and with these kind of mannerisms, they will turn out to be very well disciplined, who also have military ethos in our civilized society.
Jacinth, there seems to be a lot of advantages with this Agnipath scheme. But however, certain retired military generals, officers, they are expressing certain concerns. Let us see what they are expressing. For example, you have said that the duration of the service is just 4 years.
Yeah.
So these retired generals, they are saying that 4 years is very short duration. In fact, they cannot inculcate values like brotherhood, esprit de corps, or comradeship in these Agniveers. And these values are very crucial for armed forces.
Yeah.
And another thing is that 25% of Agniveers will have a chance to enter into regular armed forces. But what about the remaining 75%? Don't you think that this will create a very unhealthy competition among Agniveers?
Yes, sir.
Again, this is also not good for the brotherhood or comradeship,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
But the government has announced that they will be providing some 10% additional reservation for these Agniveers, so that even the remaining 75% of Agniveers will also have a chance to join any of the paramilitary forces or any other recruitment process that is released by Ministry of Defense.
Yes.
Even other ministries are also working out the details to make accommodation for these remaining 75% Agniveers. Another disadvantage is, Jacinth, like the duration is only 4 years, and out of these 4 years, the training period is 6 months. And if you want to make Indian military as a world-class military, providing such a short duration training is not sufficient.
Yes, Wiggins, I would like to also add that because of the 6 month period, the Agniveers can also be very undertrained. So, with this 4 years of tenure, they might have all of the knowledge about our military services, about our training practices, and also very important information about the equipments that we used in our defense. So, keeping the advantages and disadvantages aside, what is the rationale provided by the government for introducing this scheme?
So Jacinth, Minister of Defense Rajnath Singh, while announcing this scheme, he said that he wanted, or the objective of this scheme is to strengthen the Indian Army.
Okay.
So we will look at some numbers, like understand how they are going to strengthen Indian Army with this Agnipath scheme.
Yeah.
So if you see these charts, Indian military is world's second largest military. Okay, but if you see the expenditure, it is at the third place. And again, if you see the strength or the power of Indian Army, it is at the fourth place.
Yeah.
And if you go into the details of the expenditure of various defense forces across the world, India is at the fourth place. But again, if you see these numbers in detail, most of the spending of Indian defense forces is on personnel. Almost they are spending 59% of the total defense budget on personnel, armed personnel. But if you see the same spending on personnel of different countries like USA, for example, it is spending only 38%. China, it is spending only 30%, but we are spending 59%. And we are spending only 25% on equipment. But if you see the other countries, they are spending more. In fact, out of these 6 countries, India is spending very less on equipment.
Yes.
But again, spending per man, if you see that, again, India is having the second least spending per man. We are spending only $43,000.
Yes.
But USA is spending $522,000 per man.
Yeah.
So therefore, the objective of the scheme is to bring down the expenditure of the government, especially on personnel,
Okay.
so that our equipment can be, or so that the spending on the equipment can be increased,
Yes.
and defense equipment can be strengthened. The military can be modernized,
Yes.
isn't it? So that is the reason why Raksha Mantri or Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, he is saying that by using this scheme, we can strengthen our armed forces.
Yeah.
The concerns expressed by the youth, we should address them, or the government should address them carefully. In fact, government should create more awareness. And if they are still unsatisfied, I think in a democratic country, they can express their concerns, but in a peaceful manner.
Yes.
Resorting to these kind of violence and destroying public property is not at all acceptable,
Yes.
because it disturbs the peace and law and order in our society. So the purpose of this video is to create a small awareness on Agnipath scheme. and the concerns expressed in these videos are highlighted by various stakeholders. Jacinth, thank you so much for joining us on this show.
Thank you for having me, sir.
So we'll come back to you again with another interesting topic. Till then, keep safe.